3 years ago, my body broke in a way bones aren't supposed to. Metal and glass twisted around me like a cage. I lost my legs, well, most of their use, and I lost the version of myself that I thought was strong enough to carry anything. But I didn't lose everything. I gained something no one talks about. A different kind of closeness. A new version of love. One I wasn't ready for. Stick with me. This isn't easy to say, and it won't be easy to hear. But maybe you'll understand why I stayed quiet for so long. Back then, my days blurred into painkillers and pity, into friends who stopped calling, and a husband who eventually didn't come home. But someone did stay. My son, Adrian. He became my world, my caretaker, my reason to keep breathing. At least, that's what I told myself. Until the night I touched his wrist and neither of us moved. Adrian started taking over things Marcus used to do, small tasks at first. Folding laundry, cooking breakfast, reading the mail out loud when I was too tired to reach for my glasses. He moved through our home like he'd always belonged to every corner of it. One morning I tried to sit up on my own and failed. My muscles locked up, pain radiating down through my hip. I barely made a sound, but he was already there. "Easy," he said, steadying me with one hand under my arm. His palm was warm. "Fum." He adjusted the pillow behind me, pulled the blanket higher up my legs, and gave a half smile. "You're stubborn," he said softly. I laughed, but it cracked halfway through. When I looked up, he was watching me, not like a child checking on his mother, but like a man studying someone he was trying to understand. I blinked, and he looked away. That was the first time I noticed how much taller he'd gotten. His jaw had definition now. His voice had lost the softness of boyhood. Even the way he stood felt heavier, like he was carrying something that didn't belong to him. I told myself I was imagining it. But I didn't stop him when he reached for my leg. The power went out just after 9. 1 minute, I was watching the news, and the next, the room fell into stillness. The kind you only notice when it's thick with expectation. Wind hissed against the windows, and the branches outside scratched like they were trying to get in. Adrian lit a candle and carried it into the living room. The flame danced between us as he set it on the coffee table. It flickered across his face, catching on the shadows beneath his eyes, the curve of his mouth, the way his shirt clung to his chest after rushing in from the rain. "You cold?" he asked. I shook my head, but he draped the throw blanket over my lap anyway. Then he sat beside me, closer than usual. The cushion between us disappeared. For a few minutes, we just listened, to the rain, to the heartbeat silence of the house, to nothing at all. His hand brushed mine on the blanket, a small thing, barely noticeable. But neither of us moved. I shifted slightly, and his fingers followed, finding mine. They didn't squeeze, they didn't twitch, they just rested, warm, still, like they belonged there. And for one breathless moment, I didn't pull away. The day after the storm, the house felt different, brighter somehow, harsher. Adrian made eggs for breakfast like he always did. Set the plate down gently. No eye contact, no conversation. I didn't touch the food. He moved through the kitchen like a ghost, present, but not really there. I found myself watching him, hoping for something familiar, something that would pull us back to normal. But his steps were cautious, calculated. Mine were worse. The couch still held the shape of where we sat. My hand still remembered the feel of his fingers. My chest still tightened every time I remembered that we didn't pull away. I started filling my days with anything that kept me upstairs, organizing drawers I hadn't touched in years, folding clothes that didn't need folding, sitting in the tub long after the water turned cold. Downstairs, I heard his footsteps hesitate near the door, then continue on. At dinner, he passed me the salt. Our fingers brushed. I flinched. He didn't. We spoke in short, safe sentences. "More tea?" "I'll do the dishes. Thanks." But even the silence had weight. I could feel him watching me when I turned away. I could feel the heat in my face when he stood too close. We had become careful strangers in the same small house, and I couldn't tell if that was better or worse. It was a Wednesday, mid-morning. I was folding towels in the living room when I heard a knock, steady, firm, too familiar. I opened the door, and there he was, Marcus, a duffel bag slung over one shoulder, a grocery bag in the other, clean-shaven, wearing the same cologne he used to wear when things were still good. "I thought I'd come home," he said, like no time had passed, like he hadn't left without a word. My throat dries instantly. I didn't know whether to slam the door or collapse into it. He stepped inside before I could answer. Set the bag down. Looked around like he was inspecting damage after a storm. Place looks the same. It didn't. Adrian came in from the back door, boots muddy from the yard. When he saw Marcus, his jaw tightened. No words, just that sharp, still look that held too much. Marcus opened his arms, but Adrian didn't move. "You're back," Adrian said flatly, not a question, not a welcome. Marcus lowered his arms. Something passed between them in that moment, an exchange that didn't need words. I watched it happen from across the room and a chill settled into my skin. Marcus may have returned as a husband, but Adrian wasn't his son anymore. It was the envelope that betrayed me. I had tucked it between pages of an old journal, something I hadn't touched in years. A letter I never meant to send. Just thoughts I needed to put somewhere. Words that had no right to live out loud. Marcus found it during one of his cleaning sprees. He'd been rearranging bookshelves, trying to reclaim old spaces. He read it. Every word. When I came downstairs, he was standing in the kitchen, the paper trembling in his hand. His eyes weren't angry. They were hollow, like someone had emptied him from the inside out. "I don't even know who you are," he said. I didn't answer. There was no explanation that wouldn't turn into an indictment. "You wrote this to him," he whispered. "You wrote this to our son." His voice broke, not with rage, but with something colder, something final. Adrian stepped in, ready to defend me, but Marcus didn't swing or shout. He just folded the letter and set it on the table. "You two deserve each other," he muttered. He was gone by morning. No suitcase, no note, just a silence that wouldn't leave. "Helena, there are mornings I wake up and forget, for just a second, what we did. Then the weight returns, quiet and heavy, like wearing soaked clothes under my skin. I started therapy. Not the kind where they ask you to relive everything, just the kind that makes you name it. Guilt, longing, shame. The ache of knowing some part of me still misses his touch." Adrian moved out 2 months after Marcus left. He didn't slam the door. He didn't make a scene. He just said he needed space and packed his things into the back of a borrowed truck. He sends postcards sometimes. They arrive without return addresses. I keep them in a drawer I never open. Adrian College feels different the second time around. I sit in the back row now. I don't speak much in class. I stopped telling people where I'm from. At night, I still hear her voice sometimes, gentle, hurting, calling my name in the dark. I miss her laugh. I miss the way she used to hum while stirring tea. I don't miss the silence that followed what we became. I want to be someone else, someone good. But I carry her with me, stitched into every quiet moment I try to rebuild. We don't talk anymore, not because we hate each other, but because we both know some lines, once crossed, never erase. This isn't the kind of story people pass down. It doesn't end with growth or closure or redemption wrapped in a neat bow. It just ends. The rooms are quieter now. The shadows are longer, and sometimes when I catch my reflection, I don't know who's looking back. We made choices, in silence, in loneliness, in the soft dark where no one was supposed to see. But the echo doesn't stop just because no one's listening. Love is not a license. Want is not a reason. And forgiveness? It doesn't fix everything. It just allows the pain to settle somewhere quiet.